Welcome to the channel, guys. We are back again for another First Impression Fridays, even if it's a day late, so stay tuned for that. And if you like first impressions, cologne comparisons, fragrance reviews, top 10 lists, hit that subscribe button for more great content. So I have two fragrances here, both of which I am pretty excited about. So if you do watch the channel, you know I love gourmand fragrances. They're probably my favorite category, or one of my favorite categories. And today I have two. One of them from Akro Dark. This one sounds really good, and I have enjoyed all of the Akro fragrances so far. So I'm hoping this will be no exception to that. And you know, at least looking at this fragrance, I think it's going to be hard to at least not like it. And the other one is a Jousset Parfums. Probably said that so wrong, and that's Gourmand Bahkoor. And this is also one I've heard a lot about that sounds really amazing. So, you know what, without further ado, let's get into it. I am going to start with the Akro, mostly because I guess I have more expectations. But I want to leave this one for last because it's just the one that I'm curious about the most. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a delayed, I guess, gratification on that one. And I'm going to try this Akro Dark. So as far as I know, this is supposed to be a chocolate fragrance. And I do like chocolate fragrances. But it's very dark. So, well, actually not super dark, but it's very chocolatey. I would say it's a semi-dark chocolate. It's not like an ultra dark, like bitter style chocolate. There is a little bit of milkiness there. And I also get a little bit of fruitiness. I was very surprised. I don't recall there being fruits in this fragrance. Maybe there are, but it almost came off right on the first rip like those dark chocolates that also have like dried fruits inside them. Remind me a little bit of that. But yeah, that nuttiness is starting to come in too. So there is a fairly strong nuttiness. There is something else in there. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It almost comes across slightly dirty, almost like a patchouli or something. But I think from what I remember, I don't recall there being patchouli in this fragrance. This is one, I will say offhand, I did look at both the notes for this one, but I definitely get chocolate, lots and lots of chocolate. Definitely get that nuttiness. But there's something there that almost gives it like almost like a light incense or something else there that's a little bit not gourmandy feeling actually. And there's something that gives me almost a slight boozy vibe. I don't recall also there being booziness or boozy notes listed. Could be wrong, but I do seem to recall that there aren't any. But that's starting to all blend together. The initial burst was very chocolatey. The chocolatiness is still the most prominent thing, but it is toning back a little bit. I think all the other notes are starting to blend in, starting to come together to really bring this fragrance out. Does smell really good. I'm actually a little surprised this one is... I don't think this one is going to be my favorite, but it is good. So I'm going to try the Jousset Parfums and let this dark dry down a little bit and see what we get with the Gourmand Bahkoor. This one sounds very interesting because it has a lot of gourmand notes, but a lot of notes that are not very... gourmandy. So it's a little bit of a mix of both, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. So that is really interesting. It is sweet. I know there's toffee in that, and I do get that toffee right away. There's a little bit of a milkiness. There's a little bit of a creaminess too, and I think that's definitely coming from that milk mixing with the toffee. Reminds me slightly of kind of like an Oreo cream filling, but definitely not to the extent that some other fragrances that I've mentioned that with. I'm not thinking of them off the hand. I'm pretty sure I said vanilla orchid smells a lot like Oreo cream filling. It's not the same and it's not to the same intensity, but there is a sort of creamy, milky vibe. Definitely has a very biscuity cookie feel. So if you think about the toffee note actually in Italica, this does remind me a little bit of that. Now that has a lot of almond in it as well. Very creamy, milky almond. Not so much in that, but this does have toffee and milk in it, which gives a somewhat similar vibe, to be honest with you. Now, I'll be fair, it does smell quite different, but there is a little bit of that sort of creamy cookie vibe that I definitely got with Italica that I also get with this. A little surprised. So I know that there's also incense in this, not really picking up a lot of that. And I think there's also leather. There is something else in this that does smell distinctly not gourmand. I don't know if it's a little bit of that leather poking out. If I had to guess, I would say the leather, but it doesn't come across like, you know, ombre leather or Tuscan leather or any, like even just remnants of that kind of leather. It really doesn't. Or even, I mean, if anything, it's kind of in some ways similar to Saddle. Again, not smelling anything like it, but the idea that you have this very, very sweet vibe with, in the background, a very slight leathery feel that comes across a little bit more like a semi-slick leather. I'm going to go back to Dark, let that one sit for a little bit and see if it's supposed to develop, but it is also very nice. There's definitely something else in there. So this is not feeling really intensely gourmand to me actually anymore. So there is this chocolatey vibe. It's definitely the main player, but like I said, there's something that almost comes across a little bit like a little bit dirty, dark, like patchouli, or a little bit incensey, smoky even. Very, very surprising. The direction this one seems to be going in. It's becoming a little bit less gourmand as time goes on. It does still smell nice, but it does smell totally different. So I don't know if it's like maybe it's like a burnt nut feeling, or really strong, not so sweet hazelnut maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what note is playing that, but it's nowhere near as chocolatey and gourmandy and sweet as it felt initially in the opening. Interesting. I'm going to go back to the Gourmand Bahkoor, or Bahkoor. I will say that one, as I'm moving my hands around, I'm getting more sillage from that one. And so I think it is definitely the stronger fragrance. Both these do have a lot of heavy notes in them, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if they perform really, really well. But Gourmand Bahkoor is definitely dominating here. It's giving a lot of sillage, a lot of that sweet, milky toffee vibe, which is really, really nice. But there is definitely something very, very different about this fragrance. And I think it is the leather. I'm a little surprised, though. I know there's apparently a couple different kinds of smoke and incense, and I don't really get much of that. But in the air, especially with the sillage, this one comes across very sweet, creamy, toffee-like. And then I do get, especially up close, a little bit more of that leathery feel to it. It does come across a little bit like a biscuit at times, but again, it has that leathery backing and perhaps a little bit of interplay from the incense and smoke, but like I said, those are not standout notes for me. The leather is definitely getting a little bit heavier. Again, it still does feel like a fairly sleek leather, nothing like ombre leather. Definitely more like a saddle type leather, which does come across like a high quality leather. But yeah, definitely different. So it is definitely, if you like leather fragrances that are sweet, you might like this one. And if you like gourmand fragrances, especially if you like that milky toffee vibe, that biscuity toffee vibe, I think you'll really like this one. It does definitely hit that sort of sweet spot. Now, of course, both these fragrances would probably be very, very good for the winter, fall. They're sweeter, they're thicker, they're heavier. Both of them could easily be night out fragrances. They have that sort of sweet, seductive vibe that I do feel like most gourmand fragrances have. Yeah, I'm going to just give Dark one more whiff. Yeah, it definitely feels like there's something there, like a little bit of a smokiness or patchouli or something that's giving it a lot of character other than just chocolatey chocolate, which is definitely how it opens up. Does have this dark vibe, a little bit mysterious. Not as sweet as Gourmand Bahkoor by any means, but both are nice. You know, I still think probably my favorite from Akro is going to be Molt and Awake. I would have to, of course, smell Dark more as time goes on to really give it a full evaluation. But it is nice, but definitely not going to break the favorite. That is definitely Awake or Molt. Gourmand Bahkoor, a lot of potential there. Like I said, that creamy toffee feeling, very, very nice, very, very good. And there is a little bit of leatheriness. So ultimately, both very, very nice. If you guys have tried anything from either one of these houses, do let me know in the comments down below what you think. And I think I'm going to leave the video there, guys. So don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.